Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our, I believe, 109th annual membership meeting of the Dutchess County Historical Society. I'm Rob Doyle, serving as the current president. We are blessed to have you all as part of our very supportive membership and guests, and thanks for joining us here tonight. Please allow me to recognize our current officers and trustees, and they are James Nelson, Vice President, Jack Sina, Treasurer, Christine Crawford Oppenheimer, Secretary. Our trustees in alphabetical order are Michael Bowden, Jim Brands, Peter Bunton, Tom Servone, Peter Foreman, Eileen Hayden, Karen Lambden, Antonia Morrow, and Melody Moore, Wayne Nespico, Rick Sodler, Elizabeth Strauss, Andy Villani, and William P. Tatum III, along with David Turner. I want to thank them all for their service. They do a fantastic job for us all year. It overwhelms me how much work gets done by this group in a year. It's amazing. Tonight, we're going to share some exciting news, conduct official business, and present committee reports. I ask that everyone not presenting please keep themselves muted so that we do not experience unnecessary background noise. Please use the chat feature to submit any questions or comments, which will be addressed at the end of the meeting. Shortly, we will be voting on a bylaws amendment and installing trustees and officers to the board. We will hear reports from our treasurer and all committee chairs. You will be introduced to our 2023 award recipients who will be honored on Saturday, June 3rd at our very first annual Preservation and Awards celebration event at the historic Collins Estate in Unionville, New York. But first, I'm excited to announce the unveiling of the President's Centennial Challenge. This initiative is one of the results of last year's board's approved strategic plan. Let's take a few minutes for our Executive Director, Bill Jeffway, to explain this initiative in a video clip.
The theme for this year's Dutchess County Historical Society membership meeting is once in a century, and we don't think we're overstating its importance. We've been thrilled to hear words like revival, renaissance, and rebirth to describe recent activities of the Historical Society, and our programs have attracted a new level of financial support. But there are less visible but essential aspects to our operation that need attention. DCHS has around $80,000 of expenses each year, a number that's not changed much in many years. So each year we need to identify the corresponding amount of income. We benefit from New York State allowing us to use Clinton House for our offices and archives, although we have to bear all operating and internal maintenance costs, and we receive no ongoing taxpayer funding of any kind. In 2021, the DCHS board engaged the New York Council of Nonprofits to develop a strategic plan which revealed some fundamental issues. Anyone looking at DCHS's formal federal and state filings over the past decade will see that since our great centennial year in 2014, the Historical Society, like many other nonprofit organizations, has struggled to break even each year. In 2016 to 2020, there were losses that, upon examination, reveal a structural challenge of attracting investment in the most sacred but least visible activity, costs related to careful archival preservation. This was amplified by a shift to digital technology penetrating all aspects of the organization and a public increasingly pressed for time and money, topped off, of course, by the pandemic. 2021 was a turnaround year, and last year, in 2022, the board voted to allow a small investment loss, a strategic move that allowed a fundamental course correct, which brings us to the historic year of 2023. We're thrilled to announce the President's Centennial Challenge, which includes the largest single financial gift to DCHS ever, an anonymous gift of $100,000 that operates as a matching program. With that $100,000 ready and waiting at the community foundations of the Hudson Valley, we're announcing today that we're seeking an additional $100,000 between this year and next, 2023 and 2024, so that for every dollar raised in that time frame, a dollar is matched. And in this way, we end up with a total of $200,000 that'll function as a major asset. This involves a minimum gift of $500 that's above and beyond any normal annual giving to DCHS. This will roughly double our endowment income. We benefit from a 20th century endowment gift from the Denise M. Lawler Fund. Lawler was involved with the Historical Society with her father in the 20th century. It's time this century to make an additional foundational effort. The income from this endowment will allow us to close the stubborn operating gap and ensure that our public programs and engagement, which are attracting record amounts of sponsorship and underwriting, can be complemented by our being certain that our most sacred trust, the hard-to-see but most essential work of collections preservation, is maintained. The endowment challenge is not the only positive financial news this year. Our experiment with an online auction in 2021 has now created our single biggest and most successful fundraising event. Also this year, DCHS benefited greatly from a $29,000 one-time grant from Dutchess County to purchase the latest in digital technologies for both internal and public access. Allow us to share two examples that show you the kind of less visible work that goes on in the conservation and preservation of tens of thousands of objects in collections. We carefully preserve and protect items that relate to our national history, entrusted to us personally by the well-known and well-to-do, such as a June 1777 letter of Henry Livingston, saying the British in occupied New York City would never be crazy enough to come up to the river and burn Kingston. And we have the beam from the Livingston family home along the river that 4 months later received one of the many British cannonballs lobbed by the British when they did exactly that. Not that any more evidence is needed to show that Franklin Roosevelt practiced his beloved local history until the day he died. He reached out in 1936, with all that was going on in Europe with Hitler, to the British Admiralty to ask for and receive the October 1777 British ship logs of the famous river excursion, so they could be published in the DCHS yearbook that year. A good lesson from FDR: there's nothing going on in the world that's so important that it should distract us from preserving our local history. But we're also responsible for the care of items that belong to the far less famous, given by the far less notable, that also tell powerful stories. Arriving with a short note from someone who had just cleaned an apartment and came across this photo album from 1900 with poetry, confessed to nearly throwing it out. It turns out to be a very moving tribute from a young Nina McCullough Mattern to her grandmother, thanking the grandmother for inspiring her to advocate for issues for girls and women. Mattern was an advocate for women's suffrage, then the war effort, but died in the 1918 flu pandemic, nursing others to health. Through this inspirational, intergenerational story, we learn the bittersweet life of anyone dedicated to social change, filled with advances and setbacks. It is from these carefully preserved historic objects that we are, and future generations will be, able to draw from and draw conclusions from, revealing a much greater value to these objects than any old scrap of paper, a chunk of wood, or fading photograph might reveal. We appreciate your taking a few minutes to understand the operations of our organization as we ask you to join others in a once-in-a-century contribution. Future generations deserve the same direct access to original source material, whether that material is a document, a block of wood, or something else. It's our responsibility to make sure there's no weak link in the long chain of historic preservation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. That was very nicely done. We really look forward to formally launching this endowment plan in the near future, but we want to announce it tonight so you could be thinking about it. And we sure hope that in the future you'll consider supporting it with the $1 that you give will be matched with another, and with a minimum of $500 or more. So something to be thinking about. I want to thank you for that. Next on our agenda, we have some business to do in the way of voting. First, we need to be looking at a bylaws amendment, and then we'll be voting on trustees and officers. And so it's my pleasure to actually request a report from Jim Nelson, our Vice President and also Chair of Nominating Committee. At this time, Jim.
Sure. We have something else going on personally, but it needs a little bit of help. Christine Crawford Oppenheimer has capably and efficiently continued to serve as our secretary, and she's completing her second term. The bylaws say that each trustee can serve 2 terms, but they also say that officers need also to be trustees. Currently, Article 4A, subparagraph 3, reads that a trustee may serve 2 full terms of 3 years each. And the motion, which I put before you, is to add to that sentence at 4A3, or 3 full terms if at the start of the 3rd term, the trustee is also an officer. So it would read as amended, a trustee may serve 2 full terms of 3 full years each, or 3 full terms if at the start of the 3rd term, the trustee is also an officer. And I would offer that motion.
Thank you. And coming from committee, I do not believe we need a second for that. Now you'll see that a poll has just popped up on your screen that Bill has put up. And so this is very simple. It's do you support the proposed change to the bylaws, which you would just put your hit yes or no if you don't. And then the submit button will light up once you make your selection and you touch the submit, and it will be recorded. And then we'll simply wait for Bill to let us know how we made out before we move on. By the way, we do have a quorum. I believe we needed 20, and we have more than 20 to have a quorum for the meeting. So the voting will be fine. So if you will, at this time, select yes or no, and then submit.
A couple more coming in, and I'll get my pencil out and I'll start adding here. But looks like most everybody's voted to see that that passes well.
Oh, yes. Wow, 100%. Very nice. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so Jim, you're back on again for the second one, which now we're looking at the, I'm calling on you as a nominating chair and to make your nomination.
Okay. I would nominate and do nominate the following 4 persons who happen to be board endorsed to fill 4 trustee vacancies, each for a 3-year term through the 2026 annual meeting. And that's Tom Cervone, who is in for his 1st term, Eileen Hayden for her 2nd, Andy Villani for his 3rd, and Wayne Nussbickle for his 3rd. They're all 2nd terms, with the exception of Tom, who is in for his 1st term. I so move.
Okay, thank you. And again, coming from committee, it does not require a second. So now that we're all experts on this, we can go ahead and vote yes or no, and then submit. We need that music like do, 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 do. You know, oh, this is
All right. Looks, yeah, actually, that would be a good idea. So anyway, it looks like we're
wow, very
similar
nice.
situation with that.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay, great. And then I believe we have one more vote to go there, Jim.
Yes. As far as officers are concerned, and this partially relates back to Christine, I nominate the following persons who the board does support for 1-year terms as officers, and that would be Jack Sinna to continue as treasurer, Christine Crawford Oppenheimer as secretary, myself as vice president, and I'm also nominating Rob Doyle to hold a 2-year term, which would run from this evening until the 2025 annual meeting.
So here's our slate of officers, and this should be the last time we're voting. It's a yes or no and submit.
I think we're good on that as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we just close our screen. Perfect. All righty, well, thank you on that, and thank you, Jim, for your work on getting that done. Next, I'd like to call on our treasurer, Jack Thina, and to give us a report. Good evening, Jack.
After a fairly successful year in 2021, the Historical Society did take a step back this past year. We went from a surplus in 21 of approximately $11,000 to a deficit of about $12,600 in 22. Part of that negative reversal was due to a decrease in revenue, but the majority of it, roughly about $16,000, was based on a conscious decision by the board to invest in support staff as part of our long-range plan. As Bill had mentioned earlier in that video, we've been running at a deficit for 6 out of the last 7 years, and obviously we can't continue on that path. So we needed to make some changes. Bill's time commitment to the organization, consisting of programs, the website, maintenance of the building, on top of administrative duties, had just become overwhelming. And we had to relieve him of some of that responsibility. And we thought this was the best way to do it. So in order to ensure the long-term viability of this society, we needed to focus Bill on what he does best, so that he, along with the development committee and membership committee, could get the revenues up to a level that not only sustains us, but hopefully strengthens our financial position. We believe we're on the right track. The first quarter of this year has shown some very positive results. We budgeted for a break-even year, but hopefully we can maintain that surplus and maybe even increase it by the end of the year. The society started off the year with about $80,000 in liquid assets. About 15,000 of that is restricted, leaving about 65 unrestricted. If we were to continue deficits at the pace of last year, we would probably have enough to last another 4 to 5 years. But hopefully now, with the long-range plan in place, a more focused effort by Bill, and greater involvement by the board, we feel we put those deficit years behind us. So that's my report, Rob, unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate that. And appreciate all the work that you do for us all the time and every month. Thank you. Next, we're going to have a report from the Collections Committee, which would be Melody Moore. Good evening, Melody.
Good evening, everyone, and it's nice to see everyone. When the Dutchess County Historical Society accepts a donation, it promises 2 things: to be good stewards of the gift and to make it physically and/or intellectually accessible to the public. This past year has seen the Society accept a number of things that provide insight into the types of items that enter our collections and how they serve to educate the public. These charming Vail Brothers photographs, the first that we're going to see here, these charming photographs sent to us by Frederica Groff of Denver, Colorado, depict a delightful tableau vivant and Elizabeth Borden Campbell, grandmother of the donor, in a most fashionable costume. Who knew when we accepted them that they would be tied to the Union Vale Campbell estate that will be the location of the Society's June 3rd program, and that Miss Groff herself would travel from Colorado to be present. Next, this 1820 to 1840 blue and white coverlet, sent to us by Alexander and Carlene McDowell of Oregon City, Oregon, descended through the Haight and Quimby lines of Dutchess County to Mr. McDowell, the original owner's great-great-great-grandson. Along with the coverlet were other woven textiles and 3 spoons, each owned by 3 successive generations of the family. Who knew when we accepted them that they would come with an extensive genealogy detailing the intertwined family history of these early Dutchess County Quaker families. In May of 2022, Hudson River Heritage transferred ownership of the Dow's collection to the Society in hopes that we would make this astonishing collection more readily available to the public. The thousands of photographs, decades of diaries, and countless letters and ephemera detail the early 20th century life of the Dow's family of Rhinebeck and provide a true snapshot of life on one of Northern Dutchess's finest estates. Who knew when we accepted them that 1 year later a photo request would come from Abigail Van Slyke, Professor of Emeritus of Art History and Architectural Studies of Connecticut College, for permission to use some of the photographs in her soon-to-be published book on the architecture of children, including elite playhouses. This past year, we were able to complete a catalog of the materials available in the Society's research library and to post it on our website. Who knew when we posted it that we would receive an email from Jan Green of New Zealand, great-granddaughter of Alfred Brown, who had emigrated from Poughkeepsie to Australia. In 2015, Ms. Green had given DCHS research materials related to the Brown family of Millbrook and Poughkeepsie. During COVID, Ms. Green wrote a first-person narrative based on family letters of the visit of a family friend to Poughkeepsie in 1884. Green's beautifully written letter to a friend and updated family sheets can now be found on our website. Sometimes we find in collections things that we don't have complete documentation for or have never reached their full potential in terms of being publicly accessible. Months ago, Bill refound a collection of audio cassette tapes from the 1990s containing interviews with local residents recounting Black history. Working with a Vassar intern, these recorded oral histories have now been transcribed and will be made available through the Society's website. One of the collections that the Society has had the privilege of stewarding since 2004 is the New Guinea Artifact Collection associated with the National Register Archaeological Site in Hyde Park. Bill's extraordinary 2022 video, based on the artifacts and the associated research, has inspired some Hyde Park residents to recently form a consortium dedicated to the preservation and protection of the site. Working with representatives from state parks and DCHS, the group is dedicated to developing and implementing an interpretive plan that will coincide with the 2027 bicentennial of manumission in New York State. I have to say, notwithstanding all the great things that happened in 2022, nothing could top the Carolyn M. Clowes exhibit at Locust Grove and the publication of the accompanying catalog. To finally accord an accomplished local artist her first solo exhibit was truly an honor and a great achievement for the Society. I'm proud to say that 4 of her paintings are now on permanent loan to the Loeb Gallery at Vassar College. The selected examples I've shared with you all show how DCHS goes about using its collections to educate and entertain the public. At the beginning of this presentation, I also mentioned the responsibility to preserve, and I'm very pleased to share that DCHS, and Bill shared this earlier, was honored to be the recipient of a $29,900 historic preservation grant from Dutchess County for collections access enhancements and dynamic tools for public engagement. Prominent among the materials we will be acquiring with this grant are thousands and thousands of dollars worth of archival and collections preservation supplies. We are grateful to former County Executive Mark Molinaro, County Historian Will Tatum, and the County Planning Office for their willingness to make this funding available. I thank you all, and I would be remiss if I did not, among everybody here, acknowledge I see Margaret Duff here, visiting us from afar, and Margaret is one of our very generous donors in the past. So a call out to Margaret for your past donations to the Society and to all else who support our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Melody. Fantastic, and loved all the graphics. Wonderful report. Thank you very much. Next, call on Andy Villani to give us a report on the program and PR committee. Good to see you, Andy.
Thanks, Rob. Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to present to you this evening to share a little bit about our programming model and mention a few highlights from the last year. Since 2020, DCHS has been working to create programming in three distinct ways: through traditional in-person programs, through virtual Zoom programs, and through social media initiatives on Facebook. Some of our in-person topics this year have included the diverse history of Rhinebeck's Oak Street, held at the Rhinebeck Town Hall, and the history of the Bouquet family of Amenia, held at the historic Smithfield Presbyterian Church. Some of our Zoom programs included topics like the history of the Poughkeepsie Regatta, the Walkway Freedom Trail, and the second part of an ongoing series of programs on Dutchess County soldiers in the Civil War. Some of our social media initiatives included Historic Preservation Month last May, Women's History Month, features from our back catalog of DCHS yearbooks in March, and the debut of a bilingual oral history project called Poughkeepsie Q&A, done in partnership with The Artifact, that was spotlighted throughout February. Without question, our most significant undertaking of 2022 into 2023 was the exhibition Fertile Ground, the Hudson Valley Animal Paintings of Carolyn Klaus, held at the Locust Grove in Poughkeepsie, which told the story and displayed many of the works of a largely forgotten Dutchess County artist for the first time. Melody just shared a little bit of that collection moments ago. This achievement combined all three dimensions of our programming model, much of which can now be found on the DCH website in our virtual event space, along with many of the other programs I just mentioned. As chair of the program committee, I also have the distinct privilege of announcing our DCHS award winners for 2023. The Historical Society has a long history of recognizing folks who exemplify a commitment to preserving and interpreting the county's rich history. This year, we will be presenting 3 awards. The first is the Dutchess Award. The Dutchess Award is given for exceptional contributions in preservation, history, and education. For 2023, the Dutchess Award goes to the Francis Lehman Loeb Art Center at Vassar College under the direction of Dr. Bart Thurber. Next is the Helen Wilkinson Reynolds Award. The Helen Wilkinson Reynolds Award goes to an individual who has demonstrated a commitment to the necessary and accurate pursuit of historical truth. This year, the award goes to the local history room of the Adrian's Memorial Library under the direction of Tom Lawrence, director of the Poughkeepsie Public Library District. Our third award is given to a Business of Historic Distinction. The Business of Historic Distinction Award is given to a business with a longstanding tradition of service and commitment to Dutchess County residents. This year, DCHS recognizes the Dutchess County Regional Chamber of Commerce under the direction of President and CEO Frank Costello Jr. You will have the opportunity to learn more about each of the award winners and hear from them at our upcoming first annual Preservation and Awards Celebration event, which Rob mentioned earlier. The event will take place at the historic 1840 Collins Estate in Unionvale, Dutchess County, New York, on the afternoon of Saturday, June 3rd, 2023, and include refreshments and an open house. The house and grounds are an architectural gem, and limited tickets will be available for $100 per person. Information on how to purchase tickets will be available in the coming days. I would just like to close by thanking everyone for supporting the programs of DCHS. Many of you have attended programs, shared our social media content, and even served as presenters over the past year. I hope you will continue to join us for additional programs in the year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Fantastic job. I've said it before, but it amazes me how much we get done as a not-for-profit organization. And it's due to people like you and all the other volunteers on the board, but with little resources that we have. So that's getting changed. That's happening. There's change going on. And I'm thrilled about it, but I'm very thrilled to have you as chair of the program committee. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'm gonna call on Wayne Nespico for the Development Committee report. Wayne isn't with us tonight. He's actually at the Chamber of Commerce event 40 under 40, but he did tape his report and Bill is putting it up now. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Wayne Nussbickle, Chair of the Dutchess County Historical Society Development Committee. I apologize for not being live here this evening. In 2022, the Board of Directors approved a strategic plan to help shape the future and ensure the sustainability of the Dutchess County Historical Society. That plan identified the Historical Society's strengths and weaknesses, clarified our mission and values, and as a result, many new opportunities to teach and share history came into reality. The Development Committee is charged with revenue generation, resource development, and fundraising. We have a very active committee who takes the responsibility of current and future financial health of society very seriously. It's important to note that the Dutchess County Historical Society is a not-for-profit independent organization. We do not receive any federal funds, any state funding, or any local funding. We solely rely on the generosity of businesses, organizations, and individuals to fill our mission. The revitalized Historic Society is expanding our reach, offering numerous avenues to support our mission of preserving and sharing the rich history of Dutchess County. For example, the Program Committee is creating online video presentations on curated topics. Future topics include the history of the automobile in Dutchess County, the history of jewelry, and Poughkeepsie City of Schools, just to name a few. These presentations not only offer a fascinating look at history, but offer businesses and organizations monthly and annual sponsorship opportunities. Our website is currently visited by over 12,000 people annually, and that number is rapidly growing by the day. We will be holding an annual spring events at local historic locations with a garden party feel. Our first will be held on June 3rd at the Collins Estate in Unionville, which is the home of Dutchess County Regional Chamber of Commerce President Frank Costello Jr. and his family. Attendees will enjoy refreshments and music in a beautiful setting and tour this wonderful home and learn about its history. Event sponsorships are available for $500 and invitations will be going out shortly. The Society has been working closely with the Community Foundation of the Hudson Valley to promote planned giving through the Dutchess County Historical Society's fund. Donations can be made in a number of ways, including stock transfers, life insurance assignments, and inclusion in the personal estate planning. What better way to leave a legacy than through a gift that helps keep history alive? The Development Committee, with the generous donations of a committee member, has also contracted with Choice Words to pursue available grants for the Society. We are cultivating our relationship with other organizations to increase our collaboration. We have recently worked with Vassar College and Locust Grove on an event and continue to work with the Dutchess County Regional Chamber of Commerce, Dutchess Tourism, and local historic societies seeking shared opportunities. The most exciting news is to introduce you to the President's Centennial Challenge. To help kick off our campaign to build our endowment, a private donor has offered a $100,000 matching grant. So any donation of $500 or more to the endowment will be matched dollar for up to a 2-year period. So your donation will be doubled. As you can see, there is a new level of energy at the Dutchess County Historical Society. We are working hard to share, preserve, and educate all those that are interested in the rich history of our county. I can speak for the entire Development Committee and thanking everyone for their past support and looking forward to a bright future together. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, and we want to thank Wayne too for the work that he does. And thank you, Bill, for putting that together and getting it up in a timely manner. Appreciate that.
Just in time.
Next, I'd like to call on the Auction Committee Chair, Tony Morrow. And David can't be with us tonight. And Tony's here as a co-chair. So Tony, welcome. Good to see you tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Along with David Turner, who, as Rob said, cannot be here this evening, I am co-chair of the Autumn Auction Committee. We are very excited to inform you all of the success of last year's benefit auction and our plans to make this year's endeavor the best one yet for the Historical Society. The annual autumn auction, as you know, is one of our main fundraising drives for the year. Behind the scenes, through the generous efforts of the Board of Trustees and membership, we were able to acquire auction lots from every corner of Dutchess County and represent the diversity of attractions that make our county a unique destination. Through Absolute Auctions, who facilitates the auction for us, we featured gift certificates to top restaurants in the Hudson Valley, historic walking and boat tours, and overnight stays at the most luxurious spas and hotels in the area. Did you know that there were membership packages to Mills Mansion and Claremont historic sites? They were offered too. Winning bidders claimed unique historic experiences, such as a private tour at the exquisite and very historic Edgewater Mansion in Barrytown, and a private fireside chat in a 19th century historic home on Dwight Street in Poughkeepsie on the 90th anniversary of FDR's first fireside chat with 1930s appetizers and martinis. After all, FDR loved his martinis. And it was a huge success. There were tickets to the Bardavon and county players, and an exceptional historic local prints, and even early 19th century Poughkeepsie pottery. Our fundraising goal for last year's auction was a 20% increase over 2021. And we're happy to report that not only did we meet that goal, but we exceeded it. One of the best practices of the auction are the connections that we are making for the Historical Society. These connections, this critical networking, is absolutely essential. Everyone we engaged was eager to work with us and saw our value to the community. We found that the auction is a huge win for the Historical Society, for the winning bidder, and the auction lot consignor. We are once again motivated and very enthusiastic for this year's auction in November. David and I have already begun to search for exciting and novel experiences. The autumn auction goal has increased as the needs for the society are evolving. A 33% goal increase for DCHS may sound ambitious, but with this early start time to acquire auction lots and to meet those expectations, we do hope to be successful. However, we do acknowledge that our committee, with the incredible generosity of our board, will work hard, but tonight, David and I appeal to you for your help, the esteemed Dutchess County Historical Society membership. If you or anyone that you know would be interested in sharing your historic property for a private tour, a single event, this is a single event, or if you have a unique antique item that you would like to donate, please reach out to us. David or I would be happy to speak with you or to meet with you. Finally, we would like to thank everyone who participated as donors and as bidders in our past auctions. Your generation is actively helping to preserve the Society's vast collections and is enabling us to share the rich history of Dutchess County. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, Tony. Great job. Thank you. The auction has been wonderful, and I know you're hard at work already. So thanks so much for that. Next, I'd like to call on the membership committee, and I believe Betsy Strauss will be giving a report. So good evening, Betsy and Karen, that are both on the committee. And so Betsy, welcome.
Thank you. Greetings from the membership committee. During the past year, several changes have been instituted in regard to the membership policies and procedures. Thanks to our consultant, Chris Howe, the new Neon software has been put to use for the purposes of managing the membership and donor database and for generating a membership appeal letter, which was sent out both by email in early March and by postal delivery during the month of April. The Neon software provides many additional benefits, such as sending an immediate response with thanks when dues and contributions are received online. It also is able to integrate the data from payments received by postal mail and to generate statistical reports on various aspects of membership data. The new membership policies instituted this year include changes in the amount and levels of membership dues and donations. The levels start at the individual level of $35, a family level of $100, a patron level of $250, leadership $500, sponsor of $1,000, and the president's circle at $2,500. We have also pushed for membership dues to be paid early in the calendar year rather than later. And we have encouraged the payment of dues online at the Dutchess County Historical Society website, although payment by mail is still an option, and which some people prefer. The number of members for our 2022 year was approximately 180 members. The number of members who have paid their 2023 dues thus far is approximately 120. The membership dues and the additional contributions for this calendar year so far, 2023, is over $12,000. The membership committee hopes that by this time next year, these procedures and policies will be functioning smoothly in the first quarter in order to generate the projected income for the needs of the society. And we would also like to encourage all of our members to invite others to join Dutchess County Historical Society and to assist in the preservation of our Dutchess County history. I respectfully submit this as Elizabeth Strauss and Karen Lambden and Eileen M. Hayden. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. I appreciate the report. You guys have done great and doing wonderful. So thanks all that you're doing for us. I don't know if we have that short video, Bill.
Yeah, I'm prepared.
Okay, great. Thanks.
My husband's mother, Marguerite Hubbard, passed away in 2007, and for her, I really want to preserve these artifacts.
If I should go west, as we say, you shouldn't have any regrets, Mother dear. We'll see each other again. That we are sure of.
A lot of those African Americans from that area came into Poughkeepsie, like my grandfather, Jasper Jackson.
My feeling is serve your country and do it well.
I serve in the forces which defend our country and our way of life. I am, I was, and I will be prepared to give my life in their defense.
He actually spoke just over there, beyond those trees.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. And also, it'd be a good time for me to call on you for the Publications Committee report, if you have anything there. So
I do. Have a few words. Let me get organized.
No problem.
Yeah, So the Publications Committee co-chairs Will Tatum and Melody Moore. And we are excited about how broad we've been able to begin to make some inroads in diversifying what we publish. So of course, the catalog, which was a significant production, the Clouds catalog last year was the highlight. And to be honest, the scale of that job and an effort to really dramatically trim the cost for the yearbook mean that the yearbook's just coming out, although I've seen in prior years, the yearbook has come out in April and May, and that's about when we're coming out with ours. You may remember where the title is Invisible People and Untold Stories, and it's looking at lesser told histories. So the 101st volume of the yearbook is almost out, and we will be letting you know when that's out. We were also quite pleased that we were be able to create what we're calling these yearbook encore editions, where in this particular instance that I will show you, we took all the articles related to Black history published over the past 200 since 1914 and came up with an amazing 200 pages worth of stories. So we are going to look at other examples where we can republish certain so-called yearbook encore editions, and we're continuing to look at how to broaden the offering. That's really it.
Well, and also one quick thing too, Bill, thank you for the report. I see Rick Levin is with us tonight, which is wonderful. And I believe Rick is going to help us this year with doing the monthly newsletter, correct? So we'll have that as something new coming in and you know, sharing a lot monthly. So thank you, Rick, and thank you, Bill. But Bill, don't go too far, because the last report I have on our agenda is the executive report. So, excuse me, the executive director's report. So that would be you. So first of all, before you even say anything, I just want to say thanks, because Bill basically is supposed to work 20 hours and he works like 60. So I just want everybody to be aware of that. He gets paid for like 20, but he is like nonstop, and I hear from him even over the weekend. So I want to thank you for all the work that you do.
Thanks a lot. I don't have too much more to say except what a rich and interesting set of work we're doing. And I'm reminded that there was a fad a while ago for historical societies to dump the word society because it was an old-fashioned idea. And I was 13 years old when I joined the Northampton Historical Society of Massachusetts. It's now Historic Northampton. Very glad the Dutchess County Historical Society retained the word society, because as I look at a lot of people here, and it's always risky to call certain people out, but Miriam Cohen's contributed in some way, and Jim Merrill's in another way, and Melody mentioned others. And it really is like a society of people who have different ways to contribute. Linda Hubbard with her collection, and I could go on, or someone who can author an article. And I do feel like one of the greatest pleasures really is the society of people. The closest person to me in this society is Melody Moore, who works. She and I work more like a real yin and yang partnership. But there's so many people I see here tonight that I'm so pleased to be a part of. And I'm so pleased to know that they're participating in some way in this society. So I just say 3 cheers for the Historical Society. Long may we keep our name, and long may we live.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Great job. We appreciate all that you do. So this kind of brings us to the close of all of our reporting and so forth. All right. And I think we are ready to adjourn. And thanks again for joining us.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you
Thank you.
in other ways and places. Thanks a lot.
Enjoy, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.